I don't forget to do that. But this will also be posted on our website on the on the TNSA Talk page. And I think that's all I have to say at the moment. I will have an announcement about our next TNSA Talk. I will not have registration for that one yet, as I'm hoping to put one in between in March. So I'm waiting to see if we can get another TNSA Talk in March. But I'm going to turn it over to Second Nature, and thank you all for being here today.
Thank you all. I think they've invited me to give them an intro. I'm not actually with Second Nature, I'm with Esri. And who am I? So my name is Sunny Fleming. I'm the Esri Industry Lead for Environment Conservation and Natural Resources. I'll be getting us kicked off here and hand it over to Second Nature in just a second. But I know that some of you already know me. You either worked with me when I was with the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, or maybe you know me through TNGIC, the Tennessee Geographic Information Council, where I currently sit as vice president, and others of you don't know me, and maybe you don't know who Esri is. So Esri, whether it's a name you do or do not know, our software is really core to a number of workflows that are leveraged by governments of all shapes and sizes globally, as well as nonprofits, private industry, and across so many different kinds of sectors. In Tennessee specifically, every state department and even the governor's office uses our software, and the majority of our local governments do as well. So with such a vast application for the spatial tools that Esri has available, it's really important that we foster community. That's community with both our GIS users. Some of you on this call may not consider yourself a GIS user. That's okay too. You're also part of our community because I'm sure it touches on some of the work you do. But also we have to foster community with our business partners who are really passionate about providing solutions for some of our biggest challenges. Growing up in Tennessee, I have a really deep connection with this land, and it's very important to me. I was just telling Charlene, I can still find sharps in East Tennessee and be pretty confident that we're actually kin somehow. The health of our environment is tied not only to our personal well-being, but also to sustaining a way of life that we're privileged to experience here in Tennessee. I know for me, growing up, this was running around in the woods and camping with my family and going fishing. And we all have those, secret swimming holes that we know about as our locals. For me, that was the Harpeth River. That was near where I grew up. And then later when I was at UT Chattanooga, that became the Ocoee River Gorge that I fell in love with. And so as part of just kind of an icebreaker, I'd love if you all, while I continue on, put in the chat what your favorite river in Tennessee is and why, and how you kind of experience that resource for yourself in your life. So go ahead. If you don't know where the chat's at, it's at the bottom of the screen. That's where you can also put in questions later as well. I really want to say that, the responsibility to manage our environmental resources, including our water resources, this lands squarely on our shoulders, both as individuals, but also as communities. And it's not always easy, I think, especially with the MS4 program. I know that there's really specific challenges that you all face. There's, funding. How do we get that? Sometimes there's this legal jargon, understanding these requirements. It can be really exhausting. But despite that, I think the thing that brings us all together is that we really want to do the right thing. So with this bipartisan infrastructure bill, we have an opportunity to take advantage of some of the funding that can help us do just that. I became kind of semi-famous on LinkedIn for reading the infrastructure bill end to end. And what prompted me to do that was that I was really unsatisfied with what I was seeing as summaries in the news and things like that. They were just focused on specific things. And I just wanted to see the whole landscape for myself. And in that, I think there was a couple sections that I noticed that it might be relevant for you all today, specifically section 50106 and 50112. And these specifically call out geospatial technology to help us with managing water resources or water infrastructure. So I want to make sure that you all are aware of those because they may be opportunities for us to leverage. I mentioned business partners just a moment ago. I have the honor of introducing one today whose solution for managing stormwater has really inspired me. The MS4 program can be highly complex and challenging. I know that reporting can be really painful, and it's difficult to even understand how effective the program even is. And that's something that we want to be able to communicate and share amongst each other. And they're really tackling this challenge head on with their solution. So without further ado, Nicole, I think I'm going to hand it to you and Second Nature to kick us off.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Sunny. Yeah, so I'm Nicole Beck. I'm the CEO and founder of Second Nature, and great to have Sunny here. And we are a big Esri partner. And I think as we, myself and Michelle, give you a little overview of our vision and also our product, I think that'll become more apparent to y'all. A couple of things just on the money side and the infrastructure side, right? With Second Nature, we really see a huge opportunity for stormwater. Some of the challenges, and in fact, Second Nature collaborated with WEF, the Water Environment Foundation. They do a survey, an MS4 needs survey every couple of years, and we put actually those survey results into a dashboard. It's an Esri dashboard to be able to visualize the findings. And one of the key things that came out in the last couple of surveys pretty predominantly is the number one need is funding and financing to stormwater programs. Another study just came out, and again, the way that the feds get money to local and state governments, right, is through SRF programs. And those in the stormwater sector have gotten less than 3% of SRF funds historically, right? So we want to change that, right? And how do we change that? How do we kind of, better communicate, which is what we think a huge barrier is, the opportunity that stormwater provides to communities. And so, we've built our cities, right? We've done urban development where we've paved over natural systems, and we've disrupted the hydrologic cycle. Water doesn't go into the ground. Instead, it kind of treat it as a waste product, and we get it out of our cities as quickly as possible. And they go out of those outfalls like fire hydrants. Honestly, if you've ever really gone to your neighboring outfall and watched the water during a storm event, they come out pretty quickly. And with it carries pollution and trash to those beloved receiving waters that we want to recreate in. And in green infrastructure and the opportunity to now start reimagining what stormwater, how do we manage stormwater more resiliently? Second Nature, one of our other big partners is the Nature Conservancy. And if you after this start following some of our social media leads, we're about to push a recent publication with the Nature Conservancy where we did a national screening of USGS sites in drainages where there was a decent amount of green infrastructure within those drainages. And we see from a data perspective, actual reductions in peak flows and stormwater volumes, et cetera. So that hydrologic opportunity is there. And we really have just touched scratching the surface on putting in green infrastructure. So managing stormwater as a resource rather than a waste product, there's a huge opportunity. We can improve water quality and help you comply with your TMDL goals of reducing your MS4's area's impact on the local waterway from a water quality perspective. We can reduce downstream flooding. Again, the results that we just did with this national research is starting to provide data behind that fact. That there's a hydrologic benefit. We can, climate resiliency, right? We put water back into the ground. I'm in Santa Cruz, California. It's rained really hard for about 5 days this water year. And so, water's a precious resource for us that we need to manage from a water supply perspective. So putting it back into the ground, recharging our overdrafted groundwater tables. We put greening in those elements, and now we can increase biodiversity. We can reduce urban heat islands. We put those assets in socioeconomically disadvantaged communities, and we're getting to environmental justice and equity. So how do we do that, right? And that honestly, at the core of what Second Nature is creating is our ability to better think big picture and seize that opportunity while leveraging this, MS4 regulatory requirement. My team and I we're scientists at the core. That's where we started, and we've spent about 15 years trying to figure out how do we get information to urban land managed managers, right? People who make decisions about our water resources. And it's not really what we do in the water, it's what we do on the land. And so what we've landed on is, well, we need science, and we need kind of fit for purpose science that's not necessarily academic, but applied. We need maps, and that's why we love Esri, right? We can communicate things much better, and the where matters, right? The drainage to the, I can't even say those words, Hiawassee, OC, Scenic River, OC.
The Hiwassee and Ocoee Scenic Rivers.
Yes. Yeah. So the drainage to that waterway is where we want to make better land management decisions. And so as what Michelle is going to show you here is the Second Nature product, which we call To Inform. Fun little play on the name, but to inform better land management decisions. All of you have programs, you all have permits and requirements. And so how can we leverage the technology to be able to make those data collection and the information management required to demonstrate you're complying more efficient? Maybe help you collect slightly better data, or make sure that the data you are collecting actually is useful for you. We have customers now in 13 states. We've worked with a couple hundred now different folks who touch stormwater programs, and can ask them very specifically about, particular ways that they collect data or data points. And if their answer as to why they're collecting it is because they've always done it that way, maybe we re-envision whether or not that's a useful time of a useful use of time and resources. Then we embed our peer-reviewed science that is, again, we really want to turn the data that you're already collecting and that is required in your permits into information. How can it help you, one, make your programs more effective on a day-to-day basis? How can your construction site runoff program be more effective? How can illicit discharge? How can public education and outreach? What are mechanisms and things that you can do by having data insights to be able to make those just better programs in general? Then at a higher level, what's the impact, right? Are we actually reducing the amount of volume and pollution and trash, et cetera? And a lot of the requirements that are in these permits give us the information and the data that Second Nature, and we peer review this, we've put it in academic journals to show that our methods are valid and defensible. We embed it in the product, and so as a result, users of our solution can get quantifiable tracking of what are the water quality benefits associated with, and the community benefits associated with your program. So before I hand it off to Michelle, I have one more thing. I'm obviously not an expert in Tennessee stormwater, learning quickly, and Sunny did a nice quick ad-lib creation of a Tennessee map. So I'm better oriented with where we are. But I did spend a little bit of time on TDEC's website, and from what I can tell, it looks like the majority, if not all, of the stormwater permits in the state are expired. And that's an opportunity. That's a huge opportunity for both the permittees and TDEC, the state regulator, to join this, what is really a national discussion about the evolution of the MS4 permit, right? How do we make it better, more practical for permittees, while edging and pushing the programs to a place that they are delivering multi-benefits to their community. So I look forward to the discussion after. I think I'm supposed to initiate a poll here before I hand it off to Michelle. And I believe the poll is, we want an estimate. Yeah, here we go. So we know that stormwater programs touch a lot of people, that a lot of people are relied upon to get information. And again, all the way across all the different requirements, municipal teams and municipal maintenance. You have people doing, public education and outreach. You have people doing construction site runoff inspections. You have people inventorying assets. So generally, how many people are involved or contribute some sort of information or data that your NPDES permit compliance manager has to rely upon to compile and submit their annual report. I think you can just select the button and hit submit.
Yeah, single choice selection popped up on my end. Do we get to see live results? I'm not sure how that works on Zoom.
This is I don't know.
I can share it. 21 out of 28 have participated, so I'll wait just another few seconds and then I can end the poll and share it with you guys, I believe.
That's a good percentage.
Awesome.
Yep, everybody answered. So I want to make sure before I close everything out. It's pretty cool on this end to watch it all happen.
I bet it is. That's fun.
Okay. Can you guys see?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. And
Look,
Michelle,
I'm gonna take a picture of that just in case.
do it.
Awesome. I love the polls and seeing all the live data collection. Cool. Well, thanks for the intro, Sunny and Nicole. I think this is new for me. So I am a product manager at Second Nature. So I work really closely with a lot of our customers, understanding how you do current workflows and collect data related to your stormwater program. And then I help communicate that to a software team and help actually build that into a product that you can use. So I'm going to go through a demonstration today of our software platform and kind of show you what we're all about. So I am sharing my screen here, and what I've done is I've logged into our software product TNSA. And the great thing about TNSA is that it is a web-based product. So you don't have to download applications to separate account or anything like that. Everything is accessible through a web browser. And I think there's a microphone going on. If you could keep yourself muted, awesome. Thank you so much. So the first thing that you'll notice about the homepage of our software is that we have all these different buttons, and you'll probably notice that a lot of these align to different sections or programs within your stormwater program. So what we can do in TNSA is essentially centralize all of your data and your workflows and your teams related to your stormwater program and your annual report, centralize that into one geospatial database. And then what we can do is produce a lot of these reports and analytics automatically. So because all of your data is now being saved into a single database, it's being shared across applications and teams, we can generate a lot of these outputs that you already are required to produce for annual reporting. And the other great thing about TNSA is that we have configurable use. If you have a large stormwater program that is reliant on different departments, you can invite users with a very narrow focus on what they can and cannot edit or add. So we're always keeping that up to date, making sure that your data is, you have high standards and integrity of your data. So we can't go through all of these modules today. I only have a limited amount of time, but what I do want to show you is generally what our tools look like, what the features available are, and then I'll jump into our reporting tool and show you what types of reports and analytics and dashboards we can produce with our software. So I will go into our illicit discharge application here, just because illicit discharge, everyone has this as a requirement in their permit. It's something that everyone can kind of relate to. So I'm going to turn off a few layers here, but the first thing that you'll notice throughout all of our tools and modules within TNSA is that everything is very map-based and geospatial. So you'll see here, this kind of center focus is going to be a map of your MS4 or your jurisdiction. So I'm in a demo account here, and we're looking at a city. And what we can do is actually pull in GIS layers related to your stormwater program. And because we're an Esri partner, we can do that through an integration with ArcGIS Online. We can also do spatial file uploads. It's pretty flexible depending on your integration with existing GIS applications. So I can turn on layers such as my streams layer, my storm drain layer, can kind of zoom in here a bit, turn on some outfalls. And what you'll notice is when I move my cursor around, there's some yellow highlighted polygons. And so what we've done is actually delineate these small scale drainages within this MS4. So you can see these are all accurately drawn catchments. And then if I zoom out a little bit, we've tied these catchments to the main receiving waters within the MS4. So I can hover over here and instantly see within this city what areas drain to what receiving waters, what outfalls are included in that. So I've immediately linked that urban landscape to the local receiving waters, understanding the local hydrology. This really lays the foundation of how our product functions and the types of filtering and queries and features that we have available. So I'll turn off some of these layers just to make it easier to see. And then what we can do is now that we have that foundation, we can pull in various GIS data and layers related to the program that I'm in. So I'm in my illicit discharge application. This is where I can go out and do dry weather inspections at my outfalls or monitoring locations. I can record incidents that I see, illegal dumping, spills, things like that. And so the other great feature that we have in To Inform is mobile applications. So you can actually use our software out in the field. It knows your location. So if I zoom out a little bit, you can see my blue dot over here in Santa Cruz. So this is actually scalable and it works on any mobile device. So I can use this out in the field and I can go out and actually collect my dry weather screening inspection information, or if you do any kind of sampling or inspections, really the possibilities are endless. We've got it in To Inform. The other great thing about To Inform is we have a lot of these predefined queries and filters available. So I can show that through a different tool just to kind of give you a breadth of what we have available. And so we can produce these to-do lists. So I've gone into my municipal maintenance tool and I need to know what kinds of inspections I have coming up for their outfalls or street sweeping. To Inform can set up automated to-do lists. So you put in all of your data, you can put in a schedule, an inspection schedule, and we can actually output to-do lists. And so this essentially queries your data and shows you exactly what assets or what construction sites, what control measures might have inspections coming up. So I can see I have 26 sites here that I need to go out and do my inspection. So this makes it really simple to assign that task to a field inspector to go out and do this inspection right here. The other great thing that we can do in these to-do lists is also start to filter these assets or these projects by other action items. So I can look at my high priority catch basins that require some kind of repair or maintenance. So you can see here we have some of them indicated as red. And these are all the assets where maybe we need to replace it, we need to fix a filter basket or a medallion or something like that. So this makes it really easy to understand where your priorities areas are, where you need to go, and kind of help inform that inspection schedule that you have in that workflow. And then the other thing that we can do across our product, depending on what product you're in, we also have a lot of these predefined queries. So we can look at assets, for example, maybe that are just publicly owned. We can look at our privately owned assets. So we have a lot of these filters and different ways for you to explore and analyze your data in TNSA. And then the last thing that's probably one of my favorite features. So I've gone through our data tab here, which is basically showing all of your assets, all of your layers related to stormwater. I've gone through our to-do list here. So I've shown you how we can organize by action items. The other thing that I think is super cool is this idea of insights and trends. So what we can do in TNSA is take all of that field data that you're already collecting. So if we stick on the theme of catch basins, you're already collecting information about how much sediment you're moving, when and where you go out to clean your catch basins, and actually start to produce insights from that data. So we can generate these dashboard views that start to get at understanding your program effectiveness. So how often are you going out and cleaning dirty catch basins versus clean catch basins? So nothing extra that you need to do. You're already collecting this data, and now we can produce these really cool looking dashboards that give you lots of insight to how you can better manage your program. So that's kind of the basis of how we've set up all of these different modules. So again, although I've kind of clicked through illicit discharge and municipal maintenance, the same concept and themes and features exist for construction site runoff, industrial commercial, trash and control measures. That's all available. And again, this is all tied to a single geospatial database. So everything's always linked back up to a location on the map. Now, the other thing I mentioned at the beginning is now we can take all that data and put it into reports and actually generate a lot of these reports automatically. And so I'll go into our reporting tool and kind of expand on that and show you some examples. So I'll actually go down here, and I've talked a lot about catch basins and illicit discharge. So I'll kind of give you a snapshot of what that looks like. So what we can do in our reporting tool is now basically produce a lot of these summaries and outputs automatically for you. So we can look at our catch basin cleaning program. We can generate these tables below that show you percent inspected and cleaned. If we're in illicit discharge, we can give you counts on how many incidents you found, if you issued any enforcements. And we can do the same kind of queries and spatial filtering in here. So I can look at if I have a high priority watershed or receiving water, I can filter that in a map here and it updates my queries below. The other really cool thing that we can do in reporting is not only generate these map summaries, but we can also give a narrative. So depending on what section you're in, we can give these written summaries of what exactly you've done for your catch basin maintenance program. We can pull in if you have specific definitions about what constitutes as a priority catch basin, and we can call out key level metrics right here. So this is a really simple way to, again, use the data that you're already collecting to generate a lot of these insights and reports. And you'll see in the reporting tool here, there's a drop down of years. So it also keeps record of all of the data you've ever collected in TNSA. So I could go back to the year 2019, 2020, and see what my progress was and what exactly I did for that reporting year. And again, this exists for all different sections of your permit, and we can actually toggle through those different maps and summaries. All right, so the last thing I want to show you, which is really Second Nature's bread and butter, where we've spent a lot of time and what Nicole kind of touched on a lot, is the science behind TNSA. So what we can do in our software product, besides providing you with the tools and the methods to collect data and produce those insights, is we actually have a hydrologic model that we've built into the software. And what that enables us to do is actually estimate particulate reductions, runoff reductions from assets or street sweeping programs or anything that you've implemented and put into the ground. And our hydrologic model is pretty cool because you don't have to do anything extra. We actually use a lot of these national scale GIS data sets to produce these outputs. So we can pull in soil maps like this. So this is showing soil data. We can pull in impervious coverage data sets, land use, and rainfall data sets. And we actually combine all of those together to generate these particulate reduction outputs. And so what we get is this really cool map that's again showing those drainages, those different catchments within your MS4. And we can start to estimate how your MS4 is achieving reductions in pollution. And we can see down below here in this table that the city of Clean Water has reduced their particulate load by 35%. And I love this because we can also, again, spatially filter that by those priority watersheds and catchments and really pare down, investigate, and understand how we're generating those results. And because we keep a snapshot of all of the data that you're collecting into Inform, we can also produce these time series charts. So now we can kind of track our particulate reductions over time, understand how it's increasing, where we need to implement new structures, and there's record of that in your account right here. And again, for anything in our reporting tool, we always have a map, a chart view. We can go back on years. And of course, we have these written narratives that really give you an overview of how you've achieved reductions and what you're able to record in here. So I'll go back to our homepage here. And just to summarize, I know that was a lot, and I wish I could go through every module, but using To Inform really enables your program to collect the data better or collect data more efficiently in the field, and now put that data to use to better inform program decisions, to produce those modeling results and annual reports, and hopefully help you make better decisions on any time scale, short term, long term, etc. So if there are any questions, feel free to put those in the chat. I know we have some time for Q&A, and yeah, hopefully that was a great overview of Second Nature and To Inform and all the features that we have available.
I thought that was excellent, Michelle. And yes, I think we definitely have time for questions. And this is where we get to invite folks to come off mute. If you have questions about, oh, we've got some coming in. So Amy Hathaway asks, can you speak to how To Inform can coordinate with existing work order programs like CityWorks? That's great. They're another Esri business partner.
They sure are. Yeah, I can take that question. And in fact, we have calls and are starting our partnership with CityWorks for exactly that reason. CityWorks is like Sunny said, another great Esri business partner. They have an asset registry that includes a lot of the stormwater assets. So when Michelle was talking about digital integration back to your group's Esri system, that's easy to sync with a lot of the information that CityWorks may be using. And then you're exactly right. Is how do we sync with their work order system? We are not. You saw the to-do list. We like to think of ourselves as a nice kind of hand-holding solution to help all of the complexity associated with those what we call compliance calendars. But this is something that we're actually actively working on with CityWorks right now. Is how does that integrate into their work order system?
Excellent. We have another question that came in about is InterGov on the partner list. Helen, I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head. However, Esri does have a find a partner page where you can peruse all of our business partners. Josh is asking an additional question. How is data retrieved if someone stops using Second Nature or wants to run additional analyses on their own?
Michelle, you want to take that one?
Yeah, sure. So what is great about the partnership between Esri and Second Nature is that we can push a lot of our results and the maps and assets and all of that you saw to web maps and feature services. So there's ways to export data from to inform. There's also CSV exports, shapefile exports, so lots of different ways and formats to get the data. But we like to think of ourselves at Second Nature as being to open data. So we don't want to be a gatekeeper to anything that's in your account. We simply are giving you the tools to produce better insights and better data. But ultimately, it is your property. It's not ours. So any way that we can facilitate that.
That's awesome. Do we have any additional questions from the crowd, whether you feel more comfortable putting them in the chat or if you want to come off mute? The peanut gallery. Tennesseans, you're also quiet today. We're not usually like this. Get your football voice on.
Hey, this is Josh again. I've got plenty of questions if no one else does.
Go ahead, Josh.
So when you're doing repeat inspections of, like, if you're doing like a land surveying permit or something, you may have, one active permit and then it closes and then it's done. If you're doing post-construction, you may visit a site, one site and then a follow-up in that same year, and then you go back to it, 2 years later, however many times. How do you track multiple inspections, multiple SCMs on a single site over time?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I can kind of show you an example, but essentially what we can do in our product is set up an inspection schedule. So if you know you need to do these routine inspections monthly or annually, you can set that up in your settings, and then that basically automatically populates the to-do list. And then you talked about follow-up inspections. There's ways to schedule that into Inform. So again, it knows when to add that to your to-do list. So the to-do list is essentially a way to aggregate all of those tasks. And then what we also do is give you a full history of all of the visits that you've done on site. So we can go into a history here and see, this is an example of a construction project, but we can see that we've done an inspection in August. There is an NOV issued, they did another inspection. So we keep that full record of all of the visits that you've done, what the results were, who was there. So this is really great for reporting or auditing purposes, but all of that data is recorded and maintained essentially in our database.
I think while you're there, Michelle, if you show, don't they generate the inspection reports? They can just be. Yeah. And so this is a great example of how we can take the data that you're already collecting into Inform and produce easier reports and outputs. So one example for construction inspections is that we can generate these PDF reports that give a summary of what you did on site. So this will include, again, who was there. If you took any photos, those would show up, your notes about what you did on site. And then we can collect things like digital signatures, record follow-up inspections, et cetera. So all of that gets saved into Inform.
Excellent.
So following up on that, I know it's easy with something like if you're just storing things, locally on your server somewhere to review photos and inspections just through like Microsoft Office. What most people are familiar with, you can look at dates and look at all the pictures. You can scroll through pretty quick. If I wanted to look at an inspection done on a site that was done in 2008, 2010, 2015, how quickly can I get to those reports, and do I have to generate a report in order to see those pictures all at one place?
Yeah. So there's a few different ways to do that in our product, but we have different filters. So you can filter by a date range. So if you're looking for inspections that were done between December 2021 and January or February 2022, you can do that. It instantly filters everything. Again, because this is cloud-based, it's super quick. So everything is essentially at your fingertips. We're not deleting any data. It's always saved to your account. Other ways that you can access and kind of interact with results and data. One example I like to show here is, again, for construction sites, we have what we call the fact sheet. And so this gives basically a summary of everything that you've ever done for this construction site. So we can see all of the contact information associated with that. We can see any files, so you can actually upload things like PDF documents or linked design plans. We can look at, again, the full history of all of those inspections and their results. And then we essentially have a photo stream down below. So it aggregates all of the photos that we've taken at that site from various inspections. So lots of different ways to kind of investigate and look at data depending on what your question is, I guess. But yeah, we don't really delete anything. It's all always at your fingertips. We're in the cloud, so it's super quick.
Nice. Any other questions? Oh, we have one coming in through the chat. The annual report has specific questions tracking several different program components. Is that something your team would customize on the back end?
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that I don't think I mentioned very much, but what we can do in To Inform is what we call configuration. So we know that terminology varies a lot across the US, and annual reporting is a good thing to show here. But what we can actually do is crosswalk and look at all the different permit sections and requirements that you have and actually relabel the applications and the permit sections that show up in your annual report here. So if you look at my example here, this table of contents, you can see it says E12I. This is actually the real permit section name from wherever this city is, California. And we can actually customize that so it's completely aligned with your permit section name and your terminology and all of that.
Yeah, and I'll add, Helen, on the kind of reporting, like, right, what are the metrics, so to speak, that the regulator wants reported? You know, now we've seen a lot of these. So we started with like, you tell us, regulators and permittees, what are the kind of roll-up summaries that you need? We're starting to see now that we're getting close to like 90% of the way there with what those typical reporting metrics are. And, you know, as Michelle said, with the nomenclature on the front end might be different. But if there's something that we're missing, you know, we're working with a group in Colorado right now that has a reporting metric that's slightly different. We haven't seen it before. And so then that's, you know, if you can tell us and we can understand what data goes into generating that tracking piece, then we build it into the product, right? It's kind of cool from our perspective, because now instead of doing a bunch of one-off decision making or decision support tools, we're curating one and bringing the kind of best in breed from all across the country and making it work for everybody to advance this industry. So
Josh has another question. I think it's a good one. And we actually do have some TDEC folks on the call as well. So this could maybe be the beginning of this discussion, but it says, has there been any discussion with TDEC about their plans to make all reporting digital? And in parentheses, my TDEC forms.
From Second Nature's perspective, we have not talked to TDEC, but we'd love to, and love for you to talk to us. And what a better place than here.
Not to put folks on the spot. That's my bad.
No worries. And there, you know, we know there is an e-reporting rule out of the EPA. They're struggling to, you know, that was been pushed back a couple of times. We think that we're onto something here about doing it in a geospatial format. And, you know, again, talking to a lot of folks across the country and a lot of regulators as well. So, of course, we would love to talk with TDEC and everyone here. We want to make this, you know, we're really looking to advance the industry across all of the stakeholders. So,
yeah, and I remember, Nicole, just to throw this out there for transparency's sake. I remember when I first saw your solution, I do come from state government. And so sometimes I'm like, oh, great, there's all these solutions out there for local govs, but what about the state? And so that was my question back to you all. And you do have a solution for state regulators as well, right?
Yeah. Michelle, can you go to the annual reporting page?
Yeah.
As Michelle is navigating. Yeah, so what we want to do, and what we have done in a few, I think there's a few dozen municipalities, I think 3 or 4 actually now, that are submitting their reports digitally to the regulators. So you can see this screen, it's got that nice little lock button. That means you're going to lock it. You're going to lock your records just like a tax return. And then when you hit submit, it's going to go to whoever you've designated in the solution. Yeah, who your regulator's email is. And so then the regulator is going to get an email that says essentially this: permittee X, Y, and Z, clean water. They've submitted these reports, and the regulator has a read-only portal, and they can open up the solution on their side and just see the annual reporting pieces. They can't make any edits. And they, we strip a lot of the information that's accessible to the regulators, so that, again, we're trying to make that balance of what does the regulator need to evaluate compliance. And if they want to have a conversation or have questions, they can then ask that. One of our regulators in California has probably got 25 permittees on this format. So if you read our hot off the presses City of Salinas case study on our website, that regulator has, seen a huge improvement in their team's ability to be able to, their efficiency to review these permits, and make better decisions about guiding the regulatory requirements to their local permittees.
Awesome. I will go ahead and put that case study in the chat.
Oh, look at you on the fly.
On it.
Nobody's called out my nice, it's the only orange shirt I own, but as I was this morning about Tennessee, and my 10-year-old,
I did allude to football.
Well, yeah, what's their their college sport? And I'm like, yeah,
Go Vols.
Go Vols. So yeah, I pulled out the only orange shirt I own, but good. You can't miss me in this big pile of Zoom.
Excellent. All right, any additional questions? We do have some time. Don't be shy. There's a lot here. I know you all get some commonly asked questions. Do you have any kind of ready that you're thinking you might get, but maybe didn't get from our crowd that you want to answer?
I'll let me pick. Do it.
Yeah, let's see here. I think so. One question we usually get a lot is, your product looks awesome and it's super comprehensive, but how long does it usually take to get started? What are the requirements? So I can kind of go into that a little bit. But essentially what happens is that we have an implementation, so a customer success team that is dedicated to your success. So we walk you through prioritizing what parts of your program you want to digitize first. So what apps you want to use, what are your goals and outcomes from using to inform, and then we tailor your implementation process to those goals. And so we walk you through if there is any data integration or importing, what that entails, but it's pretty straightforward. We have a really comprehensive help center and knowledge base and videos and user guides to kind of help you along the way. And importing data and using all of that. But yeah, it's our customer success team is always super helpful and there for you, but it's not a huge lift. And usually
that did prompt a good question in the chat. Of course, what everybody wants to know: what do they need to budget for? What does it cost? Are there monthly, annual fees? What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, in general, we are software as a service. So we're a licensed subscription product. Typical customers are annual fees. And it depends. We're kind of playing around with different ways to do pricing that meets folks' needs, whether you want, a starter pack that's maybe a module or two to get started with annual reporting, or you want an all-in subscription. And we'd love to actually have our account managers and sales crew reach out to you guys so they can get a little more understanding of what are your priorities, what would you be interested in, and then we're happy to feed that information to you. But we're excited to build a community in Tennessee. Give me a good reason to get back to Nashville, and actually Chattanooga looks like just the coolest name in the world.
Great town. All right, so yeah, follow-up question. Man, Josh, they're gonna have to give you a call, buddy. But yes, he's asking based on required server size needed to house data. So kind of he's asking, prompting you, Nicole, for a little more details on that pricing structure.
Yeah, no, it has nothing to do with data. The data is, again, in the cloud, right? Bigger programs will have more people touching it, probably need more user seats. You may have more complex module usage, et cetera. So a lot of it goes back to, which I think is similar in the stormwater industry, is like, yeah, you have a bigger municipality and you have more stormwater, more data, more assets. We don't charge by asset, or, again, we're trying to figure this out in a way that works for everybody. But
excellent. All right, he understood that. And it looks like, Helen, if you don't mind coming off mute, but you did add, it looks like one of your annual report forms into the chat. And I know that alludes to, I think, your earlier question about customizing things. So that's an opportunity, I think, for Second Nature. You all can take a look at what her requirements are and maybe get that communication going with her.
Awesome. We would love to.
Cool. Yeah.
Anyone else? So quiet today. It's raining here in Tennessee today, so we're probably all a little sleepy.
That's more water. That's good for business when it's raining.
I do have a creek behind my house, and I was thinking before this call, watching little bits of pollution float down it. I thought,
Find your outfall, Sunny.
Yeah.
Your river. Yeah.
So I'll see something. Generally, we get a lot of questions about our community outreach, so maybe we could speak to that a little bit.
Ooh, good.
Nicole, did you want to start that? And
yeah, maybe if you put in the chat, this is actually one of the initiatives that we're really working on. It's a high priority this year with Esri. So what Yigal just put into the chat is a Hub Premium product, which is an Esri product, so a customizable website. And this is just a proof of concept. So taking that template from Esri and turning it into, right, everybody has a requirement to have a website, right? And stormwater website. So thinking about how can we make this stormwater website more engaging, provide information and collaboration for all the different groups that work within your community to try and meet your education and outreach needs. And then we integrate it with data from our products. So 2Inform is pushing actual data in here about green infrastructure and trash in particular in this one. And so it's always up to in the public facing website. And then rather than parsing it by drainages, because we're not quite there yet with the community, we've parsed this data by city council districts and done the analysis of where each city council district is, either in green infrastructure implementation or kind of trash project progress. There's big trash, stormwater trash reduction requirements in California. Yeah, so this is again a proof of concept. We're going to double down on this a lot with Esri this year, and we see a template and an opportunity for this to go to all of our customers as a way to increase engagement. We like calling it arm the channels. So arm the city staff and the electeds, as well as the public and education and outreach groups, and give them resources.
What I love about that too is that because you're using Hub Premium for it, if folks aren't familiar with that product, it's yes for building these kind of outreach components, but they're also really drag and drop. They're really easy to configure. And that makes a world of a difference when things change or you need to add something or remove something. So I think that's a really flexible product. I'm really excited to see you all building out those templates. That's really awesome. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, no, we're super excited about this too. Yeah, and it has the annual reports posted here. I mean, I think there's a lot of places that we can take this to, right, communicate the requirements to the developers and the contractors, et cetera, but also, maybe make the front end a little more about the why rather than just, kind of the regulatory requirements, et cetera. So we see this as the next generation community education and outreach tool for stormwater programs. Yeah.
So Sarah's got a question. I'm not sure if it was prompted by seeing the hub or maybe the actual solution, the other components of the solution, but it says she's asking, does the scheduling have a calendar? So is that the scheduling for the inspections, I assume?
I can speak to what we have in To Inform and kind of where that's going. Yeah, and so for To Inform, we have this idea of a compliance calendar. So we showed you the to-do list for each kind of program section, a list of discharge, construction, they have their own due dates and all of that. But what we want to actually integrate into Inform is a high level to-do list. So program wide, what are the inspections that you need to do in various parts of the year? What are those due dates? And kind of aggregate that up to a compliance calendar is what we're calling it. So that is coming soon and something that a lot of our users have asked for and something that we're super excited to add and implement.
Awesome. Oh yeah, Sarah said awesome too. Good, she got two before me.
Yeah, and so as those tasks, right? I mean, we didn't really show it in the to-do list, the functionality as much, but someone does it, you complete an inspection, then it comes off the list and right, you bubble up. It's like your standard, right? I have a to-do list in front of me that's manual and I cross things out and rewrite it the next day. The product for you. Yeah, so it's helpful.
All right, well, we have hit 2:01. I think we're gonna wrap up there unless folks have last minute questions. But Nicole, Michelle, Yigal, make sure you put your contact information in the chat. I put some of your social media stuff at the top of the chat. I can copy that. But Charlene, I think we'll pass it back to you to close us out.
Fabulous. That went really well and it went by so fast. I will be sending out PDH certificates for those who participated. So if there's any information that you guys would like to have me email out to everyone as well, I can do that. I normally send that on Fridays or I can send it next week, depending on if you need some time to get anything together. So just let me know about that. I always do a follow-up, and I'm also recording this, so it will be on our website, and I'll share that in the information that I send out. Thank you all for attending today. Thank you, Second Nature and Esri, for also participating. Apparently everyone is really interested in this. A lot of our MS4s are really small. They have 1 or 2 or 3 people, or maybe half a person or less who run their program. So, I know the benefit of having help, and having having whether it's on the computer or another person or something helping you get through your day. So I think this was very, very useful to our people. Thank you so much. Just a quick update. I am looking at trying to put another TNSA talk together as soon as we can, hopefully in March, if not before. We do have region meetings coming up in March. They are on the Club Express calendar, so take a look at those. We are still looking for a location for the East Region meeting, I believe. I think we have locations for all of the other regions, and hopefully we can have TDEC there to explain what's going on with the new permit. And the region meetings are the first week of March and the second week of March. And the next TNSA talk that I have scheduled is about how to assess your audit. And that is with Steve Casey with CEC and guest Robbie Karish. So just look forward to that. Registration is not available yet, but you will receive an email. Any other questions, comments, anything before we get moving along? All right, thank you all so much. It has been really nice seeing you all today and Second Nature and Esri. I've really enjoyed seeing you. Hopefully, if we have anything to follow up with or anything in the future, maybe we can get together as well. We are having our annual conference at Montgomery Bell State Park, October 18th through 20th. I do have some information on our website about that right now at tnstormwater.org. Thank you all so much. It's good seeing you and have a great afternoon. Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you. Bye.